The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of this radio station, its management, or its sponsors. Listeners are urged to use their own discernment to draw their own conclusions.
Wednesday morning. That's right. It's August 9th, 2017. Time for the Hour of Power. I'm Ryan O'Neill.
And I'm Andrah Polanis, and this is the Hour of Power. This is where we take a little time and we devote it to reading the Bible.
No. We don't just read the Bible.
We read the Bible. Yes, we do. And we, tend to notice some of the little details that typically get overlooked.
Unnoticed.
That's right.
Underrated. Yeah, we do that, definitely.
Yesterday we were in the book of Romans, because we've been talking about having idols in our hearts, right? And we were in Jeremiah last week. No, not Jeremiah, I'm sorry, it was Ezekiel. Where some idolatrous men came to Ezekiel to inquire of the Lord. Now, when I was reading that, the first thing that crossed my mind was, why would somebody who has no intention of serving the Lord, no intention of doing anything that God says to do, as a matter of fact, their intentions are to do right the opposite. So why would they want to care or even want to know what God had to say? So why would they come inquire of one of God's prophets? That was my first question. I mean, if you don't believe in God, or even if you do believe in God, and you still, for some reason, decide you want to stand in opposition to God, okay? Which is not very smart. It's not a very smart thing to do, okay? But you still decide to do it anyway, okay? Come hell, come high water, you're going to do what you want to do. All right? And it doesn't matter what God says. Then why do you even care? I mean, I've been in debate rooms, religious debate rooms where, I would be, most of the time I just watch. I don't participate. I watch the Christians get creamed by people who, don't believe in God. And they're asking these Christians all these questions that they cannot answer. Most of the time I just let nature take its course and let them suffer defeat, because that's the best way for them to learn. But one time I decided to jump in, right? I'm like, I'm going to show these Satanists who the boss is, right? And look, the people who were opposing God knew the Bible better than the people who believed in God. And this was the only reason I decided to jump in, because I thought, well, that's rather unusual and rather strange. Because it takes time to know the Bible that well. I mean, I'm telling you, these were people who would have had to have studied the Bible for years to know it this well. I mean, years. To learn the Bible only to then decide, Okay, now that I've learned this Bible, right? I've learned it from one end to the other. I know it better than some Christian preachers, okay? It's like these people, it was almost to me like this is exactly what they did, okay? Now, I've got to get out here and convince people it's not true. Okay, now I got to figure out how to twist it so I can make it look like it's not real. Now, if the love of money is the root of all evil, then I would have to ask, who's paying you to do this, sir? Because my time is valuable. I don't know about you. Okay, but my time, or ma'am, sir or ma'am or whatever, my time is very valuable. I'm not going to spend my time learning something I'm not interested in. I'm not going to spend my time doing something I don't care about, don't believe in. Okay? Unless I had something to gain from it financially. So then we found ourselves, after we explained what an idol is in your heart. What is it? And basically, most of us think of these statues that you see, like when you go to the nail salon or you go to the Chinese restaurant or something, where they put a little food or a little money or something in front of the Buddha, and we think of that as idolatry. And I guess technically it is, but this scripture in Ezekiel was about idolatry being in, God said they set up idols in their hearts. And so what is an idol in your heart? And look, these were God's people. When God was talking in this scripture about these leaders, and these were political type leaders, who claimed that, they were God's people. They claimed they worshiped in the synagogue. They read the Torah. But God told Ezekiel, these people have set up idols in their hearts, right? So what is it when, you set up an idol in your heart? And then I explained that, much like the statue type idolatry, that, you see artists, and they sculpt things, right? Sometimes they sculpt things that they can see out here. But there's a type of art where you just sculpt something that you can imagine in your imagination, right? The root word to imagination is image. And the Bible refers to idolatry as setting up an image. Okay, so it's an image, right? Something that comes from your imagination that eventually manifests itself in physical form. It'll either manifest itself in, much like they carved out statues and overlaid them with gold and made them look real pretty. And then, to get people to follow that type of religion, you got to come up with a story, right? You got to come up with some story about how the great ruler of the galaxy came down and lived in the volcano and ate people. You got to come up with something that sounds believable. And you got to match it up with whatever scientific stuff or psychological stuff or religious stuff. I mean, it's got to have some elements to what everybody else is believing. You got to throw a little bit of this. You just change the name and reword it, but it's pretty much the same thing, right? And this way we can deceive the whole world. We can recruit people from all religions, right? If we take a little bit of Christianity and a little bit of Islam and a little bit of what all these people believe, reword it into a story about the mothership that's coming down to beam us all up or something, and we can just and it's all about, bottom line, it's all to brainwash you so that the people who know the real truth, right? And usually these are people at the top of the pyramid. Most of the time, the people at the bottom of the pyramid are totally living in another planet. Like, they're mentally and psychologically, their reality is totally different. Like, they come in on the introductory level, right? They don't know everything the people all the way at the top do. The people all the way at the top know it's all BS. They know this is just stories we're using to brainwash these people. But they're the ones with all the control. And if anybody down that pyramid gets out of line, they're going to wish they didn't, right? Any troublemakers, anybody looking like they're going to defect, anybody looking like they're not playing ball, anybody that the Kool-Aid's not working on, right? We're going to ruin their name. We're going to ruin it because we got all their secrets, right? Because when they came in as a newbie, when they first came in, we made them trust us, and we made them tell us all their secrets because we pretended like we loved them. And we told them we could help them, reach their full potential, and we'll destroy all their enemies. If somebody's hurting you, you come to me, and I'll protect you, and we earn your trust, and we make you trust us. But then if you ever get to where you can think for yourself, we're going to also turn around and destroy you with all the information and all the secrets and things that we know about you, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. See, I'm coming after you, devil. I'm on to you. Oh, yeah. You're coming down. Your little world is about to come down. You see, because I can't live in this world with you in it anymore. I can't know you're doing this and sit back and let it happen. I can't do it. Now, I know you got a lot of people fooled out here. Okay? And I know you got a lot of Christians don't even know this stuff's going on because they're too distracted with other things, other problems and little distractions that you're causing to distract them on purpose so they don't notice what you're doing. But I happen to have taken notice, and I'm holding you accountable for what you're doing. I'm bringing your little world down, devil, and you're going to get out of this world, and you're going to stop doing what you're doing to people. I'm not too happy about what you did to Michael Jackson. I'm just telling you straight up. I'm not too happy about what I've seen you do to innocent people. I'm not happy about it. I went to God and I said, well, something's got to give. Something's got to be done about this. So why would somebody that knows God is real, right? Like yesterday we were in Romans, okay? God, certain men, and they know God's real, right? Romans chapter 1. They know that God is real. God made it plain to them. Okay, he just came down and said, I'm real, here it is. Here I am. I'm right here. Okay? I'm real. He made himself visible to them in a way that they knew. There was no doubting, nothing. So why would they then, we're in Romans chapter 1, right? We started in 18. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godless and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. So God, there's certain wicked and evil men, right? And the reason why they're wicked and evil is because God made it plain to them he was real. He came down and gave them the understanding. Just poof, here it is, on a silver platter. I'm real. All right? And it was clear, and they understood it. Okay? Now, most of us are out here. If God did that to all of us, he would have us hook, line, and sinker, like 100% devoted, fully and wholeheartedly. Like, if God came down, there's a lot of us out here, and a lot of people in all religions, right? That if God did this, we would be 100% totally devoted. Without that'd be it. Like, nothing else would matter. I mean, that's better than winning the lottery. I'm just telling you. When God comes down and shows you he's real, it's the best, most exciting feeling ever. And he makes it completely and totally plain so there's no doubt in your mind. Right? Only God can really do that. Honestly. That's what the Holy Spirit does when you listen to the preaching. When a preacher comes and preaches Jesus Christ, okay, the gospel of the resurrected Son of God, okay? Not the gospel of the baby in the manger, not the gospel of a king coming someday, right, in the cloud. No. The gospel of the resurrected, the eternal gospel of Jesus Christ is the gospel of the resurrected Son of God who lives right now, today. He's watching everything we do every day. He knows every single one of you by name. He knows everything about you. He knows everything about everybody in this world, from the least to the greatest. He knows he knows how many animals are on this planet. He knows how many species are. He knows everything about this planet. From A to Z, from the core to the surface to the outer atmosphere. You know why? Because he made it. He built it. He's an engineer. He designed every system. And he gave us, when he created us, he gave us the ability to do the same type of thing. That's why we, as human beings, get out here and we discover things and we invent things, and he lets us name it. And he does. He gave us the intelligence. That's why we're not like the animals. Animals are not out here inventing things. Animals are not out here discovering things. Animals are not out here doing what we do. An animal never built a machine. An animal never discovered how to make medicine out of a plant. An animal never designed a contraption that will fly them through the air and into the outer space. Animals can't do that. Animals are dumb compared to human beings. But when sin entered into, when Satan, let me put it this way, when Satan influences human beings to turn away from God, then they start behaving like animals. They get demoted down to a lower level to where now they're on the same level with the animal. When Jesus raises you up, he promotes you up on the pyramid. See, when you sin, you go all the way down to the bottom of that pyramid underneath it, and because that's where the animals are. The angels are kind of halfway up the pyramid structure. Mankind is supposed to be at the top, right underneath the Lord, in power and authority over this planet. That's your position. See, Satan is supposed to be under you. Satan has to obey you when you've been restored back to your original position of authority on this planet. And you can only be restored and raised back up by Jesus Christ, the resurrected Son of God, who owns the entire planet. He's the owner of this entire planet. God gave it to him. He created time. He created chronological time. He chose what point in chronological time he was going to come and make his appearance. He chose it all. He was there in the beginning, creating this world, creating chronological time, already knowing everything that was going to happen from the beginning. He already knew everything that was going to happen. So he chose, well, I'm going to show up on my planet in physical form during this chronological time period. And this is how I'm going to do it. And that's when he came up with a whole plan about a virgin birth. Because only a virgin birth, only God could come into this world as a man through the womb of a virgin. Satan couldn't do that. And we couldn't do it as human beings unless we did it in a laboratory or something. That's impossible. And no, I've never seen nor heard of it ever happening again. That was one of those things that only happened one time. Now, if the virgin birth if that was not God, if you can give me a scientific explanation on how that happened during that time period, then it would still be happening. Just like evolution. If evolution was true, then people would still be evolving, right? That's why it's not true. It happened one time, and that was it. No other virgins, no other women have ever been supernaturally impregnated. And if anybody says it, they're lying. You know, it's just another one of those stories to get you to drink some Kool-Aid. So why would these men, why would somebody that knows God's real want to purposely hide that truth from you? For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Remember, Babylon is the black pyramid. Zion's the white pyramid, right? So, how could you meet God? How could you know for a fact? I mean, this goes back to Nimrod, right? His great-grandfather was Noah. And you know Noah told them. You know those 8 people that got off that ark told their children and their children. I mean, this was a major story. God gave us the whole world. He killed everybody off in the world but us 8 people, and we got it all, baby. All the gold, all the silver, all the land, all the everything. It's all ours. All we got to do is divide it up now. 4 couples, right? 4 men and 4 women. 4 married couples. right? And the married couples were male, female. So, you know they taught their children, and you know they taught their children's children, and you know, it would have scared me so bad that I would have drilled it in those kids' heads. Never, ever, ever turn against God, whatever you do. He destroyed the whole world and gave it all to us. So whatever you do, never make him angry. Never do anything against him, or he might destroy us again. Or he'll, because I'm just thinking like, that's what I would have been saying. Whatever you do, do not ever turn away from God. He destroyed this entire planet because of what people did right here in Romans chapter 1. Then Nimrod decided this is what he was going to do. Although they claimed to be wise, Nimrod, Cush was the only one that had a kingdom, right? Nimrod was, out of all these people it was talking about in the story, the only one that had a kingdom were Cush's descendants. They became fools and exchanged the glory of God. They exchanged the glory of an immortal God, for images made to look like man and birds and animals and reptiles. I'm going to be like God. I'm going to exalt my throne above God. I will be like the Most High. No, you're just a man, dude. You think you got so much power and control. You think you're ruling the world? So he decided, well, for me to be like God and me to rule I got to rule over some people, right? I got to have me some people that are going to worship me, right? So what I got to do is I got to hide the fact God's real. Because if they ever knew God was real, they'll worship him and not me, right? So then I got to make up some stories to get them to believe. Some myths, some fairy tales, some comic book story type, fairy tale type stuff. I got to make them believe I'm a god, right? I got to make them believe I'm all powerful. Because if they knew God was really real, then they wouldn't have any use for me, right? They would, if the minute I wanted them to do something they didn't want to do, they wouldn't do it, right? And they wouldn't have to. So I got to figure out a way to control people and make them think, and make them do what I want them to do. Make them behave the way I want them to behave. And good and bad is going to be what I say it is, instead of what God says it is. Yeah, what's the matter, devil? Are you nervous? You feel kind of uncomfortable right now, don't you? You're trying to figure out what is this weird feeling I'm feeling inside. I feel something. Yeah, you know what that is? That's the sword of the Lord up against the back of your neck. You're going to pay for corrupting my church. You're going to pay for corrupting my family. You're going to pay for corrupting my world. You're going to pay for everything you've done. Every innocent person you've hurt, every person you've lied on, everything you've stolen, you're going to pay. This world does not belong to you, Satan, or your followers. And this world is not big enough for you and me. One of us has got to go, and it's not going to be me. It's not going to be me, brother man. Therefore, God gave them over to the sinful desires of their hearts, to sexual impurity, the degrading of their bodies, because they exchanged the truth of God for a lie. and worshiped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Because of this, God gave them over to the shameful lust. Even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. And the men abandoned natural relations with women. Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And were inflamed with lust for each other. Men committed indecent acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their perversion. Furthermore, since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, He gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, greed, evil, depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice. So, gossip. This is arrogant, boastful. They, in inventing ways of doing evil, they disobey their parents. They are senseless, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these things, but approve of those who practice them. Well, I guess if you're going down, you don't want to go alone, right? If you're going down to the pit of hell, you don't want to go alone, right? Well, if I'm going down, I'm taking as many people with me as I can. You ever heard these stories about people who have AIDS, and then they withhold that information and they go out and they just sleep with people and give it to as many people as they can on purpose? That's what that makes me think about. But, if anything, this tells us right here, simple, right here on the page, that when you see this kind of behavior, when slander, strife, gossip, when you see this kind of behavior, homosexuality, when you see this thing becoming more and more and more acceptable out here in our society, it's because somebody is purposely, on purpose, somebody that's way up high, right, in positions of power and influence and control, who knows God is real. They know God is real. But they're hiding it from you on purpose. They're twisting and distorting your views and your understanding of God on purpose. And the evidence is what's going on around us. Planned Parenthood. We were just reading an article today about how Planned Parenthood has got children as young as 4 years old out in California, teaching them that their genitals do not determine their sexual identity. 4. What happened to letting people decide? See, that's child abuse. That's psychological child abuse. You're teaching children to be insane. That should be illegal. That's child abuse. You're confusing those children on purpose. God made us male and female. Marriage is between a man and a woman. You're destroying the family. And all these other people out here might think that's just fine, but I don't. And I might be just one person, but I outnumber you. One is greater than all of you when God is on my side. And I know God is on my side against this. I don't care. I don't need for people to come and chant my name. Andrah Polanas, you're the greatest. I don't need all of that. I don't want all of that. I want you out of my world. You're not going to destroy my world. You're not going to destroy my nation with that. No, You're not going to be hiding the truth about God from people so that you can be in control. So you can control people, right? We watched Michael Jackson grow up. He had a mama and a daddy. He started out with his family singing. Every one of his songs were clean. There was no cussing in his songs. His dancing was good. Every time he ever portrayed himself, he portrayed himself as a heterosexual male. I never saw anything about that man's life, and anything he said, anything he did, and the way he lived that would indicate the things being said about him were true. Now, I can't say that about some of these other artists out here who got on stage and did vulgar things and got away with it. The ones who really are the pedophiles, right? Who sleep with underage girls and sleep with children. They're out there just flaunting their agenda all up and down on their music videos, on the stage, just pushing, tearing up the Bible, doing all kind of stuff. But nobody's saying anything about them. And I would believe it if you told me that about some of them, because I can listen to the lyrics of their songs. I see how they I see their music videos. I see how they act on stage. I see what kind of immorality they promote out here by watching their videos and stuff. Now, I could have believed that about some of them, because I've seen how they behave, because of what they do out here right in our face. But we believe it about Michael Jackson, and we never saw any evidence that it was true. Michael Jackson did whole concerts, and he would give all the money to feeding hungry people. And I just want you to know that if he was here today, they'd have something to eat in Venezuela. They wouldn't be eating each other over there. They're eating each other in Venezuela because they're starving. And Michael Jackson wouldn't have let that happen. He'd have done a whole concert to feed them. What are we doing? What are all your other little idols out there doing? Your superstars. What's Beyonce doing to help Venezuela? What's Snoop Dogg doing? He's worth more than every president we've had. What's he doing to help Venezuela? They're eating each other. You don't think it could get that bad here? I'm tired of this. Why? I mean, to a sane person, this sounds crazy. Because if God, a sane person listens to this and says, well, if God showed up to me like that, I'd totally give him my whole life. If I knew God was really real, I'd run around the church. I'd jump up and down on the rooftop of the church. I'd be so happy. So why would somebody like this do something like this to you? How could somebody know God's real? That God made it plain to them. And still want to turn around and turn their back on Him. Interesting. Very interesting. What in the world does Satan put in somebody's mind? That's what I want to know. What in the world does Satan put in somebody's mind? What does he tell these people? What on earth would make somebody that knows Jesus Christ today now, turn their back on Him on purpose and intend to do it? What on earth would make a person do that? Think about that. Selah.
That has been the Hour of Power for this Wednesday, August 9th, 2017. Stay with us. We'll have another edition of the Hour of Power tomorrow morning right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. Good morning to you, and God bless you.